You sent the first message this morning. You also sent the first message yesterday and the day before, and you noticed that, and you decided not to mind. You booked the restaurant. You remembered his sister's birthday. You're the one who brought it up after the argument. 3 days later, in a very calm voice you rehearsed in the shower. You're the one who softened it. You're the one who said maybe you'd overreacted, even though you hadn't particularly. And somewhere in the back of your mind, running all day like a radio in another room, there's a number. You'd never say it out loud. You'd be mortified if anyone knew you were keeping it. But you know the score right now, to the decimal point. I want to talk about that score. Not to tell you to stop caring so much. I think that's useless advice, and I think you've heard it from every friend you have. I want to tell you what the effort is actually for, because it isn't love, and it isn't generosity, and until you know what it really is, you'll keep doing it with the next man, and the one after that, and you'll keep calling it your best quality, while it quietly eats you. Let's start with the scorekeeping, because that alone tells you almost everything. People in balanced relationships don't count. They genuinely don't. Ask a woman in a reciprocal partnership who texted first this week, and she'll look at you like you've asked her who breathed first. There's nothing to count, because nothing is being extracted. The counting starts when there's a deficit. It's not pettiness. It's your mind doing exactly what it should do, which is track a resource that's leaving faster than it's coming in. So the very fact that you have a running total means the answer arrived a long time ago. You've just been hoping the next round of effort would balance the books before you had to look at them. Now here's the part that reframes everything, and I want you to really take this one in. Your effort is not a gift. It's a regulation strategy. Watch what actually happens in your body. He goes quiet, or he's short with you, or he doesn't respond the way he usually does, and something in you rises, tightness in your chest, a low hum of dread. Suddenly, you are unable to sit still inside that feeling. So you do something. You send the thoughtful message. You cook the thing he likes. You plan the weekend away. You over-explain your position in 6 paragraphs so that he'll finally understand and the distance will close. And here's the tell. You feel better immediately after you do it, before he's even responded, before you have any evidence at all that it worked. That's not love landing. That's your anxiety dropping because you took an action. The effort isn't for him. It's a dose you're giving yourself so that the dread becomes bearable for a few hours, which is why you can't stop, by the way. Not because you're endlessly giving, because stopping means sitting inside the dread with nothing to do about it, and that is genuinely one of the hardest things a person can do. Okay, now the mechanism that keeps the whole thing locked in place. You've probably framed this as 2 separate problems. You try too hard, and he doesn't try enough. 2 facts, sitting side by side, his being clearly the worse one. They're not 2 problems. They're one system, and it has a seesaw at the center of it. Every relationship has a certain amount of work in it. Emotional work, logistical work, repair work. Someone has to notice the tension. Someone has to remember the appointment. Someone has to be the first to soften. That work exists whether or not anyone's assigned it. And when one person consistently reaches for it first, the other person doesn't develop the muscle. Not because he's a villain, because there's never a moment where the work is sitting unclaimed in front of him. You get there first, every time. You get there first because waiting is unbearable for you, and by the time he might have noticed the tension, you've already dissolved it. So he underfunctions. And you read his underfunctioning as proof that you have to keep overfunctioning, or the entire thing will collapse. And it might, briefly. But not because he's incapable, because he's out of practice, and because you've been so reliable that his not doing has never once cost him anything. I'm not saying it's your fault. Please hear that. He is an adult, and his passivity belongs to him. But there is one lever in this dynamic that is genuinely, entirely yours, and it's the only one you've never pulled. So where does this come from? Because you weren't born doing this. Think about what you were like as a child. I'd guess you were the easy one, the one adults said was mature for her age, The one who could tell from the sound of a car door closing what kind of evening it was going to be, and who adjusted accordingly. Voice down, needs postponed, mood managed. If you had to read a room to stay safe, you didn't develop a personality so much as an instrument. A very fine, very fast instrument for detecting other people's emotional weather and correcting for it before it broke. And if love in your house was something that arrived when you were good, helpful, undemanding, if it went away when you were difficult, then you learned something that never got unlearned. You learned that love is not something you receive. It's something you administer, something you maintain, like a fire that goes out if you stop feeding it. That's why doing less feels dangerous rather than restful. In your body, the equation is simple and old. If I stop managing this, it ends. And it's why you're drawn to men who require managing. Not because you like suffering. Because a man who needs nothing from you gives you no way to secure your place. Someone easy leaves you standing there with your instrument in your hands and nothing to tune. Now, here's the reframe that I think is the most uncomfortable thing in this whole conversation, and also the most useful. A lot of what you call generosity is protest. I mean that quite precisely. When he's distant and you respond by cooking his favorite dinner, planning a surprise, sending the long, careful message about where you both are. What are you actually trying to achieve? Not his happiness, his response. You're trying to make him come back. The effort is a bid, and underneath the bid is a demand, and underneath the demand is panic. That's why it doesn't feel good to give it, and why it feels so devastating when it isn't matched. Real generosity doesn't come with an invoice. If you give something and then watch closely to see what it produces, and you'd feel gutted if it produced nothing, that wasn't a gift. That was a message with a bow on it. And here's the awful part. He can feel it. Not consciously, maybe. But there's a difference between being given something and being reached for, and everyone can tell the difference. Effort with fear underneath it doesn't read as love. It reads as pressure. Which is exactly why it so often makes him pull back further, and why the harder you try, the more you feel him receding, which makes you try harder still. That's the loop. It's not that he doesn't appreciate you. It's that the thing you're handing him isn't the thing you think you're handing him. There's a piece of sociology from the 1930s that says this more bluntly than I could. It's called the principle of least interest, and it goes like this. In any relationship, the person who is less invested has more power over its terms, not because they're manipulating anyone, just structurally. The one who's willing to walk away sets the shape of the thing, because the one who isn't willing to walk away will keep adjusting to preserve it. Every time you accept less than you wanted and say it's fine, you don't just lose that one thing. You transfer a little more authority over the relationship to him. Not maliciously. He probably doesn't even notice it happening. But it accumulates. And 2 years in, you're in a relationship whose entire structure was set by whichever of you cared less. And it was never a fair negotiation because only one of you was negotiating. Which brings us to the question you've probably already asked yourself 100 times. If you can see all this, and I suspect some part of you always has, why can't you leave? Because of everything you've already spent. You've put 3 years into this, or 7. You've put the version of yourself who was patient, and the version who forgave things, and the birthdays you organized, and the family you got attached to, and all the nights you talked yourself down from leaving. That's not nothing. That's a substantial portion of your one life, and walking away now would mean facing something almost intolerable, that none of it purchased anything, that the effort didn't work. That you were pouring water into a container with no bottom, and the water is simply gone, so you stay. Not for what you're getting. You'd be the first to admit you're not getting much. You stay for what you've already given, because staying keeps alive the possibility that it eventually pays off, and leaving confirms permanently that it didn't. I want to be very direct with you here, because I think you deserve directness more than comfort. The years are already spent. They're gone regardless of what you do next. The only question left is how many more you'd like to add to them. And then there's the thing underneath all of it, the one you'd probably deny if someone asked you outright. You're angry, not disappointed, not tired. Angry, properly, deeply angry. And you've had nowhere to put it for years, because acknowledging it would mean acknowledging that you gave all of that in the expectation of return, which doesn't fit the story you've told yourself about being a loving person. So it sits there, and it doesn't stay quiet. It comes out in the wrong places, at the wrong volume, at the worst possible moment. The sharp comment about the dishes that's obviously not about the dishes. The crying that arrives out of nowhere on a perfectly ordinary Thursday. The ultimatum at 11 at night that you don't fully mean and can't take back. And then, this is the part that should make you furious. You become the problem. You're the emotional one. You're the one who overreacts. He gets to be calm and reasonable and slightly baffled because he's not carrying anything, and it is very easy to be calm when you're not carrying anything. Months of swallowed resentment, and it comes out looking like instability. That's the trap. And it's why just communicate better was never going to fix this. You can't communicate your way out of an arrangement where you're doing 80% of the work and calling it devotion. So what do you actually do? Here's what I'd want someone to tell me. Don't announce anything. Don't send the message explaining that you've realized you overfunction and things need to change. That's just one more piece of emotional labor, one more time you're doing the work of naming the problem for both of you. Just stop reaching first. For 2 weeks. Don't withdraw punitively. Don't go cold. Don't perform distance to see if he chases. Just stop being the one who arrives first at every piece of work. Let the tension sit for 1 day. Let the plan go unmade. Let the silence be his to break. And then watch what happens in the space. I'll be honest with you about the first few days. They'll be horrible. Your hands will itch for your phone. You'll draft things and delete them. The dread you've been medicating with effort for years will show up undiluted, and it will feel like proof that you're ruining everything. It isn't. It's just the feeling you've been outrunning, finally catching up with you while you sit still. But somewhere in those 2 weeks, you're going to find out what's actually there. Either he steps into the space, awkwardly, imperfectly, a bit late, but he steps in, and you'll discover that the relationship was capable of holding weight all along, and that your rushing was crowding him out of it. Or nothing happens. The silence just extends. And that's brutal, but it's also the clearest information you have ever been given, because it means what you've been calling a relationship was a performance with one performer, and you've been paying for the stage. Either way, you find out. And you cannot find out while you keep filling the gap. Because I'll tell you what the other side of this looks like, and I want you to keep it somewhere you can find it. It looks like effort you never had to negotiate. Someone who notices you're low without being told and does something about it that you didn't script. Plans that materialize without you making them. Repair that comes toward you halfway on its own legs. Being cared for in a way you'd never have thought to ask for, because you didn't have to ask. And the strangest part of it, the part nobody prepares you for, is that when you finally receive that, it's uncomfortable at first. You'll feel like you owe something. You'll start looking for a way to even it out. Let it be uneven for a while. Let it be a bit much. You've spent your whole life being the one who gives. You're allowed a period of being clumsy at receiving. You were never too much. You were just doing two people's work and calling it love, and then wondering why you were so tired all the time. Put some of it down. See who picks it up.